Hello and welcome back to Mark's NOTCAST. Been a couple of weeks, breaking transmission. Now number 479 is the 27th of January 2026. 30 years ago tonight, right now actually, I was watching Suede on stage at the Hanover Grand in London, debuting the songs from the Coming Up album and their then new member, Neil Codling. And a lot's changed in the past 30 years. I'm not going to go through that because, we'd be here until at least Tuesday if I did that, and today's only Wednesday. So today, instead, I'm going for my random record rummage in my bag of dreams in my Idols Batman t-shirt. And before we get started and anything, I haven't done one of these for a week, and I haven't done one of the themed ones where I'm talking about a band or a period or a subject. And the reason for that is my brain is quite tired. It would quite like a holiday. And there's been a couple of really, really big things happening, which I'm not really going to be able to talk about in any huge detail. Work has been very busy, but we've just crested the peak of a big thing. More about that will be announced at some point by them, I'm sure. I'm working on a significant project, which I haven't announced yet, but I will be as soon as various things get approval to do so. And I think some of you will be quite pleased by that when that happens. And obviously other things are happening outside of that, and again, when I can talk about those, I will. But in the meantime, I won't. It just suffice to say, there's a lot going on. And this isn't necessarily how I thought 2026 would start. I hoped 30 years ago that 2026 would start with me being richer than God and living a life of luxury, as opposed to merely having quite a good life. And that in itself, as REM sang on the Accelerate album, living well is the best revenge. So let's go in to the bag of dreams and see what there is. I don't know what's in here. I don't know what's going to come out. For all I know, it'll all be things I've already talked about, and therefore I'll go, but let's find out. So this is a CD, I believe, and Aphex Twin, I Care Because You Do. So Aphex Twin, this, let me just quickly check this wasn't manufactured by PDO, because they are evil. It was in fact making. Oh, that's good. So I Care Because You Do, one of the earlier of the Aphex Twin albums. I have most of his stuff up to probably 2015 or thereabouts, on the grounds that he then went to do loads and loads of EPs that you could only buy if you went to his shows. And having seen him live a couple of times, I didn't really feel the need to go back and see him many times again after that. I stood a row behind him, or more correctly, I sat a row behind him on a plane going to Barcelona in 2017, which I think was the last time I saw him live. And I don't remember much about it now, on the grounds that I think he came on about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I really wanted to sit down and I couldn't. Nonetheless, I Care Because You Do. So Aphex Twin, Richard D. James, Cornwall's finest electronic pioneer, kind of like the Jandek of his genre, in so much as doesn't really bother playing the game, puts out whatever he wants whenever he likes, doesn't really care too much about how that's perceived by the outside world, isn't really vastly interested in playing on TV or radio or doing interviews or being a media personality, does begrudging interviews on the grounds that, that's the way in which you sell records, but that's about it. And I Care Because You Do is let me just quickly check. I think it's about 1995. Yes, it is. And it has some tracks I don't really remember. And it's got Ventolin, which is fantastic. Come On You Slags, one of the best names for a song there have ever been. I don't listen to this enough, but then I do have an awful lot of music. Aphex Twin has done some fantastic records. Selected Ambient Works 1 and 2 are particularly good. Surfing on Sine Waves by Polygon Window, I really enjoy that. And just generally really quite good. Drugs as well, actually, I love that album, but it takes a very specific mood to achieve. And Drugs really reminds me of 9 Inch Nails' Ghosts, or maybe the other way round. Maybe Ghosts was really heavily influenced by Drugs, in so much as the songs don't have titles, they have moods. It's a double CD, it's all ambient. and sometimes the songs are represented by pictures. Hence why you might have a song called Blue Circles, for example, or I don't know, Green Leaves or whatever it is. Yeah, so there you go. I Care Because You Do by the Aphex Twin. Let's look in the bag of dreams and see what's next, Pop Kids. So, book. I'm guessing this is a movie novelisation. I can tell just by going through it, it's got approximately 16 pages of fantastic, inspiring colour photographs from the film. This is Upside Down. That's what it is. It's Upside Down. This is Battlestar Galactica by Glenn A. Larson and Robert Thurston. Almost definitely all written by Robert Thurston, whilst Glenn A. Larson cashed the cheque and paid Robert Thurston less money. Much the same way as George Lucas didn't write the novelisation of Star Wars. He didn't. It was Alan Dean Foster. Talking of Alan Dean Foster, he wrote something like 37 movie novelisations, which I have. Almost all of them, and most of them are fantastic. Anyway, Battlestar Galactica, this is a Cylon base. Very cleverly, or very cynically, it is Wagon Train to the Stars, as it was described, as a human race searches for the 13th colony, the great planet Earth, and through space proceeded and chased by a thing called the Cylons, which are a bunch of, robot dustbins with murderous intent is probably the best way to describe it. I've not read this yet. I'm still quite behind on some of my movie novels, so therefore I haven't read this. There's a whole bunch of other ones that I haven't read, and let's just quickly check and see. So this is the 1978 version, and I bet there isn't even a picture of a Daggett in here. Yep, so there it goes. Concept art, pictures of people looking pensive and meaningful. Is that a Daggett? No, it isn't. All shots from the serial. I managed to pick up the box set of every Battlestar Galactica ever in a charity shop in Edinburgh a few months ago. Very pleased about that. Looking forward to watching that. Made it to the 3rd episode and thought, yeah, not as great as I remember, and I didn't remember it being that great either. So I guess when I've watched it all, I'll let you know. However, if you are a Battlestar Galactica fan, aficionado, or just aware of it, do not watch Galactica AT. It's bullshit, because they find Earth. And, let me put it this way. It's kind of like in Airwolf, the 4th season of Airwolf that nobody really ever talks about, where they didn't even have an Airwolf anymore. They just used stock footage from the other episodes. Almost as bad as the Pink Panther movie, made out of the leftover bits and deleted scenes from the other Pink Panther movies that were made before Peter Sellers died. What were they thinking? Right, let's go back in the bag. See what happens next. Right. DVD. Okay. Oh, no, Blu-ray. It is the Coen Brothers' No Country for Old Men. A fascinating film, which I've in my mind, I need to watch the Coen Brothers movies again, because they come in generally 2 flavours. One is bleak, socially observed commentary, and the other one is quirky shit. Most people stick with the quirky shit, Raising Arizona, The Big Lebowski, etc. I like the bleak stuff too, and No Country for Old Men is just a great dark movie. If it isn't based upon a book by Cormac McCarthy, it probably should be. In fact, I'll probably find out that it is yet somewhere. But if it isn't based on a book by Cormac McCarthy, it probably should be. It's one of those huge ensemble pieces. There's a series of short vignettes about interconnected characters that go through life, including a trail and bag of stolen money, a whole bunch of other things, and a murderous Javier Bardem with a cattle prod who is undoubtedly a cold-hearted psychopath. And I have a whole bunch of thoughts about psychopaths, but not for this episode. I need to watch it again. I definitely need to watch it again. I remember watching it and thinking, well, it's been nominated for loads of Oscars, won 4, including Best Picture. Those are great choices. Really good film. Really enjoy it. But it's one of those films I think to admire, like a work of art. And it's not a film to enjoy. It's a film to experience, and maybe stroke your chin afterwards and go, that's an interesting statement about humanity and man's inhumanity to man and cruelty, etc. It's not a great movie. It's a great movie in that respect. It's not a fun time. Right. DVD time. We have, oh dear, Vin Diesel in The Chronicles of Riddick, the second one of the Riddick films, after Pitch first, The Chronicles of Riddick, and then the third one, which is just called Riddick, which might actually just be ridiculous. This is the one where the director David Twohy, and let me just quickly check and make sure that's him, yep, went full Dune on everything and thought, I've made a low-key, low-budget, fantastic sci-fi slasher horror movie like Alien. Vin Diesel, who, let's be honest, is not the most charismatic of humans. I can make a franchise out of this. I hate the word franchise. It's awful. It sounds like movies are just like branches of Burger King or something. And I don't like it. To me, it grafted on a backstory that nobody ever really wanted. Nobody sat there and went, explain to me about Riddick's homeworld. Tell me of your homeworld, Usul. Explain to me about, you know, the mythology that sits alongside it and the royal families and the people that control it and your role in it, etc. Nobody was that was a question nobody was asking, and yet somehow we got a film that answered it. Judi Dench is great in it from what I remember. The rest of it, not so great. I was looking at the Blu-ray of this recently. It's recently got an Arrow release with a theatrical and a director's cut and a whole bunch of other things, and I just kind of thought, yeah, no, I don't think so. And so therefore, yes, decided not to pull the trigger on Riddick, even though I have recently entered the world of 4K. Yes, behold my TV cut of Cobra presented in standard definition, and weep. Right, what else have we got? Normally a 7-inch and a 12-inch. So let's go for the 7-inch. Oh, good choice. I've mentioned this before. Motorhead's The Golden Years live EP. About 2 years ago, I was in a charity shop. They put out a whole bunch of 7-inches. The guy that worked there went, anything good? And then his mate went, no, nothing good. Come on, man. You've got Motorhead's Golden Years live EP, which features Leaving Here, Stone Dead Forever, Dead Men Tell No Tales, and Too Late, Too Late, all recorded live. How could you not say that's good? If you don't think that's good, you don't have much to talk about. Talking of which, recently I've been on a massive Motorhead trip and really enjoying the early stuff. I bought a fair chunk of it. All good, always good. A band I should have liked more then, but I didn't. And the last one, at least I think this is the last thing, and I think I know what this is, but I could be wrong. By the feel of it, it's a picture disc, although I'm not quite sure which picture disc it is, and I won't know until I get it out. How excellent. I have talked about this before, but not for a wee while. This is the Manic Street Preachers Holy Bible, 2014 Record Store Day version of the Holy Bible, released on picture disc, featuring the US mix. Now, the US mix of this album, oddly enough, wasn't actually released in America. It was released in Canada for a short period of time, and it features different mixes, different performances, a different ending to a couple of songs, different vocals in various points. It's a bloody great album, and I have here a copy of the Canadian CD, which a friend of mine got for me about 30 years ago, and I listened to it and thought, this is magnificent, it needs to be better heard. So the original version of the album was, I think, mixed by a chap called Steve Brown. I could be wrong, but I will need to check that. And the American version was mixed by, I think, Steve Lord Algie, I think, maybe. And whereas this is a claustrophobic Pill, Susie and the Banshee style, feels like the walls are closing in on you. This song, this album is wider, it's got a broader soundscape, it's got a different, more stadium-y production, if I can put it that way. It sounds less like being crushed to death in a small room and more like the terror of wide open spaces. And by that, what I mean is, you can imagine if you're all alone on an Arctic ice floe with nothing and nobody around for miles, apart from possibly a polar bear or a penguin. I forget which one is it, because one's Antarctic and one's Arctic, isn't it? So there you are. And that is, the difference between the two. This is the first vinyl edition release of the American mix of Holy Bible, released on picture disc for Record Store Day in 2014. It's a great record, actually. A fantastic, fascinating alternate version of reality, and features for the cover art a version of or an image taken from the cover to the faster PCP CD and 7-inch single. Not much to say about the Holy Bible, to be honest. I did a fantastically long video about it, and I wrote about a 10,000 word essay about it about 20 years ago, more correctly 10 years ago when it came out, and praised the record profusely, as I should have done, because it is not just a record, it is a work of art. One of my favourite albums, a life-changing record actually, in many ways, even if not necessarily one that sold a huge amount. So much like the Velvet Underground, when the Holy Bible came out, it didn't sell many copies, but every copy it sold influenced somebody in some way. And I was, I say lucky, but I didn't know I was lucky at the time. I was able to see the band twice on the Holy Bible tour, once at Brockwell Park, May 28, 1994, actually, when the band kind of opened and played, I think, Faster, PCP, and possibly another track of the Holy Bible, and then at the Wolverhampton Civic Hall on around the 7th of October 1994. I don't remember much about that gig, apart from the fact that it was incredibly loud and incredibly sweaty. So that is my quick random record rummage. I will no doubt have other things to mention at some point. I haven't mentioned them yet. I'll get round to them in a bit. Hopefully I can make this announcement shortly, and I can tell you my secret project I've been working on. I think some of you will be very pleased about it. I certainly am. In the meantime, take care of yourselves and each other. Stay excellent. I will see you soon. Yeah, stay beautiful, beautiful ones. If you are a Suede fan, the band are touring starting this week. I am seeing them on that tour. If I see you there, say hello. If I don't see you there, then have a lovely time without me. And in the meantime, stay beautiful. Okay, wrapping up, short, sweet, lovely. Yeah, look after yourself, okay? Well, almost all of you anyway. A couple of people are a bit of a jerk. Don't look after yourself if you're the jerk. But if you are a lovely human, the world needs more lovelier people in it. The news is horrific, it's upsetting, and I'm sorry about that, but I can't do anything with it. So we'll just leave it there, and I'll end on this. So there you are. That's my random selection of random tut, and leave it there. Now, the astute of you will have noticed this is a section that will end up being turned into the thumbnail, by the way, about 17 minutes 33 seconds in. If it isn't, YouTube's auto content generator AI thing is clearly hallucinating again. I would like to hallucinate a reality that is better than the one we're living in. Right, see you later. Exhale, exhale, exhale.